Hi guys, welcome. Finally back after a little hiatus. Hi Kelly. Hi anybody else who's in here.
Hi everyone.
Howdy, welcome to Dinosaur Omelette Land. I am Christopher.
I'm Angela.
Angela, welcome. How are you guys doing? We are a small homestead here in southern Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. Is that correct? We're still there?
Yes, we're in the same location.
Yeah, and this channel, we dedicate a lot of time into providing education. We do a weekly live, which we kind of hope to keep interactive. So if you guys have questions or comments, you can drop them down there. So we keep these live, right? Mm-hmm. We like teaching. You know a lot about your silkies. She's a silky breeder. She breeds a silky wind and the quail.
The jumbo wild Coturnic's quail. Yes.
Yeah, so we've been doing this for over 5 years.
Yeah.
Who's dropping in there? Hello, good evening from Alex Mack. Hi.
Hello.
I'm bending down to check out my...
Do you want to bring that closer? Is that okay?
No, yeah, it's fine. I'll bring it closer.
Yeah.
My little monitor. All right, welcome in. All right, tonight we're going to be talking about top 10 nutrients your chickens cannot live without. There's a lot of things they can't live without. So the philosophy I have with the teaching I try to provide for you guys is I want to keep everything simple, although I like presenting some complex stuff. So I try to keep the information, even if it's complex, like a kid can understand it. I think most of the stuff I've done has been like this. Mm-hmm. You know, we've done some pretty.
But you like you like to be thorough about it.
Yeah, I'm excited. I was just chatting about what to grind up in an emergency situation for feeding the chickens and quail and livestock, really. Oh, emergency feed grinding just in case of another apocalypse coming in.
I think there was more comments before that one too.
Oh yeah, there was. Alex again. The silkies are for sale just local or you ship? We're not shipping it.
Yeah, currently they're local pickup, but 2026 next year, which is just around the corner, I am looking to begin shipping the pullets, young hens. Yes. So at present, it's just local pickup.
Yes. Hey there, is that Aaron? It might be. Looks like a new name, but if it is, hi. If it's not, hi, Agito7. Hi. All right. Yeah. So yeah, we try to present the information, even if it's complex, in a simple and easy to understand way. And I want it to be palatable for kids, younger people anyway, and not bog them down. Even though we're dealing with biology, which is insanely complex, chemistry, which is insanely complex. The trick is that there are fundamentals that you can understand your animals in that kind of equate to all things and all living creatures.
Yep, you're right.
It's one of Aaron's using accounts. Okay. Thanks, Kelly.
Are these the comments that show up here? Are they the same?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. So yeah, like everything functions they're predicated on some fundamentals that all the animals share. They're ingesting food, they're metabolizing it. There's going to be waste products, there's growth, there's, enzymatic processes, etc. There's these things that are common to all the animals. And what's varying is some processes, the amounts of components that are going in, the ratios, etc. But a lot of it is kind of basic. And I try to boil it down like that. I look at things as a system, and I try to understand everything in a simple systems mechanic, which a chicken is. And it becomes easy to understand, I think.
Yeah.
When you look at it. Well, basically, I always ask this question whenever looking at the problem. What is the objective? What is trying to happen here? And for a chicken, it's trying to breed little baby chickens, not get eaten, not get sick. Its system wants to grow and be healthy. So that's the objective of its biology. So we look at what's going into the animal to help facilitate those objectives. And today it's going to be nutrition, which is very important. But before we begin, here's a little piece of information. I'm not a veterinarian. This is for entertainment. Please do your own research and seek veterinary care for your needs of your animals. What did Aaron say? Broken phone, so my accounts are mixed up. I know how that is. I've dropped this phone like 300 times, but they're built to drop. Cool. Anything else you want to mention? No? Oh, down in the description is a bunch of cool free stuff. You don't have to put in emails or anything. It's just stuff I made for our customers, but it's educational material. Easy to read, simply written.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're going to start learning about the top nutrition for chicken health and well-being. We produce our own feed. We actually sell a feed. This is not a sales video, but to let you know, we do have background in feed, food nutrition, poultry nutrition. We've done a lot of research and energy and effort into that. And
yeah, we worked hand in hand. We worked closely with Fertrell. They are a company who specializes in feeds for farm type animals, for poultry, for cattle, pigs, all sorts of farm animals, and also they specialize in soils and such. So yeah, so we worked closely with them to formulate a good feed that we feed to all of our birds, to our chickens and ducks specifically, to our breeder silkies.
Keep talking.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the exact same mix that we provide for sale. Yeah, but as of right now, that's also local pickup, and that's something that we want to make available for shipping in the future. But yeah, I don't know what Christopher is doing.
I'm grabbing my chicken diagram.
Oh,
we're going to go into this whole thing.
That's a good idea.
So before we go into the feed, I want to go over the anatomy. We went this last week. I'm going to use my paper chicken. I'm not going to go too in depth with this, but what's happening inside of the chicken? Can you guys see that? I hope you can see that. Do I have a pointer stick? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. My straw.
Can you see it this time?
Yeah. So what's cool about the chicken, okay, peck, they're eating, goes down the esophagus. We have one too, which is a little swallowing tube. Works with peristalsis, which is peristalsis. There's a big fun word. It's an involuntary contraction that squeezes things down. So you're not consciously making your throat swallow stuff. It's a reaction called peristalsis. It's very cool. Christina here, we're watching from all the accounts. Hey, hon, thanks for coming in. This is for the kids at home who don't know too much about the inside of a chicken because they're usually eating them or petting them. So chicken swallows his food down the esophagus. And there's two components I want to tell you guys about this chicken anatomy before we go into nutrition. It's very important. They have a crop. Most of you guys know that. If you don't, this is a little storage pouch that their food gets tucked into where it begins to moisten. Some enzymes are introduced before it begins digestion, right? Mm-hmm. There's no mechanical grinding going on down here. It's just kind of pre-fermenting a little bit, not much because you don't want to have bacteria too much growth in there, but it's getting moisture and expanding, to which point it softens up and it goes in down to the stomach, or the acidic stomach, or what's called the proventriculus. The true stomach, sometimes called that, where the chemical digestion takes place. And the last thing I'll tell you about this is the important thing called the gizzard. Okay, swallows, goes down to the crop, goes into this chemical stomach, and then gets transported to the gizzard. Because chickens do not have teeth, the gizzard does what, kids at home? You know, there's rocks in there. The chickens swallow rocks, and the gizzard is a muscle like this, like a fist almost, that's crushing those rocks against the grains that come down into the gizzard. The gizzard, which pulverizes the food they ate. So now it can go down through the rest of the digestion tract to get absorbed, particularly in the small intestine where most of the absorption is done of these nutrients. My little chicken diagram.
That's a good idea.
Okay, so
to answer somebody's question, we don't currently make quail feed. It is something that we do want to do, but we don't have that available as of yet.
Yeah. We are not doing it. I mean, the reason we do chickens are, people are very high end with their chickens, and we have like I guess you would call it a boutique feed, but it's not. It's just a high nutrition, high quality feed. That's not. If you look into the nutritional components in a lot of off the shelf feeds, not to badmouth them, but let me badmouth them real quick. Like any other product, you're going to look for profit, so you cut costs where you can, and unfortunately. You cut costs by adding filler like wheat middlings and other things that aren't nutrient density. It's like us, you know, if you eat a piece of white bread versus a whole wheat nutrient nutty piece of bread, there's going to be other nutrients that are in there. You should do one on the difference in nutritional needs between quail versus chickens. I don't know any of this, so I'm taking notes. That's a good.
Go through a little bit of comparison.
So really what's going on with the quail, Kelly, is they have a high metabolism. They're smaller animals. They're going to be ingesting less, but I think their food, I'm not going to tell you it's exactly the same, but it's similar in compound. I mean, there's difference in calcium and protein and stuff, but they're eating for their higher metabolic rate and their growth. Particularly when they're young, they have all that. They're consuming protein till what age?
So 10 weeks.
10 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, you can cut it down once or 6 weeks, but they're still growing until 10.
Well, let me roll into this. So we talked about the key anatomy, which is digestive tract. I should have mentioned a couple things. I did mention the small intestines, but I don't really need to mention the liver and the kidneys. I don't want to bog you guys down with too much information. We are going to go into the actual compounds and constituents of our chicken feed that we're always curious about. And I'm going to start off with a big one, protein. Everybody's always about protein. When we think of protein, when I was doing this research to present this, guys, to you appropriately, I'm thinking, how do people think? When we think of protein, what do you think people think of when you hear the word protein? Muscle tissue.
Yeah, building muscle growth.
So that's unfortunate. I think that's just an effect of our culture. When you think of protein, you think of muscle.
But I think a lot of with health, in foods, there's a lot of confusion and just hasn't been the best, I think, in education and transparency, maybe, concerning those things. But anyway.
Protein is a biological material made up of chains of amino acids. You guys know what amino acids are? They're these very basic chemical building blocks. Folded into, this is the important part, proteins are folded into precise three-dimensional shapes that allow them to do specific jobs. I'm not going to get into too deep in that, but what's happening is it's mind-bogglingly complex. The cells, we're constructing new proteins, putting them together, and what's happening is there's a series of amino acids in a chain, and they have to be in the exact proper location. You can't screw it up. It's hundreds of these things, hundreds of amino acids in a chain. And then that compound, that structure of amino acids, needs to be folded in a very specific shape to do a very specific job. And if it's not done right, it does not work.
Yeah.
At the very small micro level. What is Aaron saying? I would have paid attention if you guys were teaching. I always thought I was like an F student. I had E's and F's. I was a horrible student.
No, but you're very engaging with the person.
Yeah, but I want to let you guys know what protein is doing. So structural proteins. We have structural proteins like collagen, and keratin. Collagen found in connective tissue. Keratin, like a chicken beak. Right? So what's happening? How does the collagen get there? Well, that's a metabolic product where the cells are, enzymes are breaking apart the protein. You eat the protein, chicken eats it. They eat plant protein or insects or fish or whatever they're eating. The enzymes are breaking the protein down into its amino acid components, like the parts that make it. So think of the amino acid like a Lego block, I guess. And you need a bunch of different Lego blocks to build a structure. So you have all these different amino acids, 22 of them in the chicken's diet. And so they take those and they rebuild different proteins, folded up, really cool, amazing structures, these folded three-dimensional shapes or Lego buildings made of amino acids to build different proteins in the body. And we just discussed structural proteins like collagen and keratin. Transport and carrier proteins, very important. What do? Hemoglobin carries oxygen in our blood, and albumin, which maintains fluid balance in the bloodstream. And you guys know what albumin is with chickens? You know what that is? Egg white.
Yeah, the egg white.
Egg white in a chicken egg. Immune system proteins, antibodies and cytokines. Cytokines are the messengers that regulate an immune response. You may have heard of like a cytokine storm where there's an inflammatory response and it just overwhelms the system. Cellular machinery, structural proteins and cell membranes, receptor proteins, regulatory and signaling proteins. These are important. So these are proteins, enzymes, and hormones. You guys have heard of these, right? Enzymes and hormones. Enzymes and hormones, what are they? We discussed this before. We did a endocrine system video about chickens. So hormones, I say hormones. I always mispronounce this. Hormones are messenger.
You can just own it, like those people do on the documentary films. They'll say a certain word very different,
Just the way they say
and
it.
they just yeah.
So the hormones are messenger proteins that they go out and they tell the cells, hey, this is the job to do. Go do this job. All right. Enzymes, these are catalysts. They facilitate chemical processes. They speed them up. So protease, for example, that's a type of enzyme that breaks down protein. That's why it's easy to remember. Protease, protein. It's an enzyme. There's bunches and bunches of enzymes and lots of different hormones. Well, many more enzymes. But that's, again, protein. So when you're eating meat, that meat gets broken down and it's turned into things we don't think of as protein intuitively because of our culture and our diet.
Mm-hmm.
We think of protein as
right.
muscle, but protein is really the base of everything in our body. I don't go too much. Oh, reproductive proteins. We already talked about the egg, albumin, and shell membrane proteins. Anything else important? I don't want to bore people with this. Ooh, cool one. Pigments and visual proteins. So pigments, melanin, the color of your chicken feathers. These are proteins. Cool stuff. All right.
So it's the foundation of structure.
Oh, yes.
Enzymes and regulation.
Yeah. Protein isn't meat. It's the working material of life built from amino acids, shaped to do jobs, three-dimensional shapes, and constantly being rebuilt in every cell of your chicken. It's really, really amazing. Like all of this stuff, guys, kids at home, if you like biology, you can spend a lifetime studying this stuff. It's that complex. Okay, there's tons of stuff to learn, but it's fun. It's an elephant sandwich, one bite at a time. Isn't that how that goes?
Right, and then it builds. It's knowledge and information that builds.
So protein, I'm going to let Angela have. How much protein are we feeding our chickens? What's the constituent in the diet? So baby chicks are getting how much protein?
Chicks are getting like 20 to 22%
20
protein.
to 20% of the food, the feed, is protein.
They're in that growth stage.
And is this the same for quail chicks as it is for baby chicken chicks?
I feed higher protein for my quail chicks just because they're growing faster, much faster.
Thing to know about protein in a human versus chicken, like I said, everybody works very fundamentally the same, but there are differences. So a human can eat a lot of protein and we're not going to get, it's not going to overwhelm our kidneys. We produce urine, liquid urine. Aren't we lucky? We produce liquid urine. So we produce the byproduct of excessive protein is nitrogen. So we did a video about this. So we urinate nitrogen with water. It's excreted pretty easily. Okay, chickens and birds, they do not do this. They conserve moisture. They don't waste water. So it stresses their kidneys to have a lot of protein or excessive protein in their diet because it has to be converted into a crystalline form called uric acid, which is excreted as a solid form. Chickens don't pee.
Yeah, so sometimes people who maybe they do a lot of hatching of maybe the Bantam breeds of chickens, Silkies, and a lot of other ones, they tend to have higher needs with ingredient the nutrients and such compared to other breeds. And sometimes people are also hatching and quail as well and are feeding that higher protein game bird feed to the quail. And they'll think, well, I'll just say silky chicks as an example because their nutrients, they're a little bit more, they need a little bit more than other breeds. They'll mix feeds, their chick feeds, and they'll think the amount of protein, more is better. And more of anything can actually be harmful, which is you just mentioned with the way it goes through the body.
Dose determines the poison.
Yeah. So sometimes people will cut their feeds and add different like game bird feed to their chick feed, and then they're increasing that protein way high, and they'll end up with complications like just health issues with their chicks. So it is important to be feeding the particular birds that you're growing at the particular life stage that they're in the right type of feed and the right amount of protein and other nutrients.
Yes.
And look into it before making assumptions that more of this, this is what they need. They need 20 to 22% protein as babies. More can't be bad, but look into it first before making health decisions like that for living creatures. Yeah.
Hey, Tommy's here. Hi, Tommy. I saw your
Hello.
video about Vietnam. That was very cool. You had a very cool video about all these species, 22 species or so found about off the coast. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes here. Kelly said something. My request for a future topic is to do emergency preparedness feed, like what to grind up, but it might be able to figure it out from info here. That's actually really cool because that involves mathematics and some planning and simple math.
It's a good thing to, because the more you understand, the more
Right.
confident you feel.
If you're thinking about preparing for food reserves, it's just simple back of the envelope mathematics. How many calories per organism, or how much feed weight if you're doing an animal, and then per day, per week, per month times that, and then what are your compounds you're using, and then can you source them locally is what I think you're getting at. What can I use?
Like what could you substitute
in
a pinch?
So that would be actually very interesting. All right, last thing about protein I'm going to go over about these birds, which is very important, is the methionine and lysine content. That's going to be listed in your feed. Like whenever you buy feed, you look at the back of the chicken feed. Nobody does this because you look at the cute little chickens on the cover pecking at stuff. That's, it's like buying cereal. Whichever one has the happiest animal, I'm buying that cereal. But yeah, chicken feed has a label on the back, and it tells you it's got a guaranteed analysis, which is kind of like the nutrition label for people. It tells you what's in the feed. Lysine and methionine are always going to be listed because they're called limiting amino acids. They're quite critical. They're called limiting because if they are not present in sufficient amounts in the diet, even when all the other amino acids needs are met to the quantity they need, they can't be used. Some of them won't be able to be used without the lysine and methionine present in the diet in sufficient amounts. Does that make sense?
Is it the processing of the other one?
Yeah, they need methionine and lysine to utilize and construct little three-dimensional structures we were talking about earlier. So one of the things you see, like if there's a protein deficiency, particularly with some of these compounds like lysine, methionine, feather picking, you may think it's an aggressive chicken. Could be. But if you have a protein, and particularly these amino acid deficiencies, chickens instinctively, they know what to eat. And feathers are nothing but keratin. They're pure protein. So you see them pecking on the guy next to him. Whew, that was protein. That was a big one. I wanted to get through that. Again, it's very, very complex if you want to get into that level, but simple enough to understand. So the big thing to understand here, protein isn't meat. Protein is little, really cool, fabulously complex, folded amino acid structures. Some of them turn into meat. And then when we eat the meat, it goes in reverse. The enzymes break the meat down. They break it down back into its amino acid constituents so it can be rebuilt. So cool. Here's one for your brain. This is about biogenesis, like how did life begin? So to make an enzyme, you need proteins, but to make proteins, you need enzymes. It's going back and forth.
Yeah.
It's a chicken and egg thing.
Yeah, that's interesting.
You are what your food eats. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm going to get into that later because I went on a rant about it. It's really, really cool. Not just nutritionally, but systems-wise. I'm going to tell you something really cool in a minute. Let me just talk about calcium and phosphorus, number 2 and 3. Calcium. What do we know about calcium? Everybody knows what calcium is. It's for strong bones and et cetera, muscles.
Eggshells.
Yeah, and eggshells. There's a little clarification. So, yes, calcium is the major component. Calcium carbonate is a major component in eggshells. However, the bones require phosphorus, calcium phosphate or hydroxyapatite. What is that? So bone being made of calcium, so if a chick was inside a bone, it's going to have a hard time getting out, right? And if a chick's inside an egg, it can crack it. Why is this? What's the difference? Well, this is cool. Calcium phosphate and the hydroxyapatite, the bone form of it, is a much, much stronger kind of calcium structure. What happens is you take, I'll use my model here, which is a finger. You take the atom of calcium and you insert a lattice of phosphorus and you have your atom of calcium. So you have this super strong, rigid form of
So
calcium.
it's like the rebar reinforcing the structure.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So bone is very, very hard. It's compressive. You can't, it's not easy to break. It's not, we're made of skeletons. So the chickens are still transporting calcium to the bone, but it's now going to have a phosphorus in it as well, calcium phosphate. The egg, of course, is not going to be made of that because chick would never be able to break out of an egg made of the same kind of calcium phosphate. So it's calcium carbonate. Chemical words you don't have to remember. So we'll use the simpler version, soft calcium, hard calcium. That makes sense. Okay, calcium in the diet, however, it is important, of course. What is the percentage in feed normally?
So for mature birds, laying birds, it's like 3.5 to 4.5% calcium.
Yes, the majority of it is stored in bone. There's the medullary bone back in the chicken leg, which is a reserve where some calcium is used for egg formation.
Mm-hmm.
And the egg is going to provide the initial calcium for the new chick. The egg becomes about 30% weaker as that chick develops. So it provides calcium for their bones, and it becomes easier for them to break over time once they're ready to come out.
The shell, break the
Yeah,
shell.
you feel them when they're hatching. They're much more brittle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah. Phosphorus in the diet, again, everybody heard of ATP, adenosine triphosphate? That's a big chemical word. I don't want to get into that too much, but if you remember high school chemistry, and you don't have to, ATP is the old energy molecule in every cell, right? Adenosine triphosphate, so there's that phosphorus component.
Mm-hmm.
Take the glucose or the donut, you break the donut down and convert it into adenosine triphosphate into the cell, and now you have energy. I say donut instead of glucose. So.
Mm-hmm. Oh. That's what you meant.
Well, it's people don't want to hear chemical names. They want to hear common names. So instead of glucose, I say donut.
Okay.
Cool. All right. So we talked about calcium and phosphorus.
So the phosphorus, so we said the calcium's like the rebar that's reinforcing the structure. The phosphorus is the cement holding the matrix together. Just to give you a visual.
Yeah, I think you did it backwards last time. But yes, very interesting stuff. And I encourage you guys to look at this. Aaron, what you were saying about you are what you eat. So I'm going to put a pin there and go into this. So this is very true because we're going to be talking about vitamins next. And the curious thing about vitamins is where do they come from? Vitamins come from the soil. They come from bacteria. So I was talking about the food chain. Vitamins produced by bacteria in the soil. Plant absorbs vitamin. Animal eats plant. Other animal eats that animal, and so on and so forth. And then we eat whatever. Then we get the vitamin. It's going through different synthesis processes as it's being absorbed by different animals. For example, vitamin A. Vitamin A is not usable inside of a human until it's converted into its bioavailable form. And this is true for a lot of vitamin compounds. They need to be converted into a bioavailable form, meaning the cell and the enzymes can take it, or whoever's using it can use it. Vitamins act as helpers for enzymes. So the enzyme is doing a chemical process to speed it up. This is cool, like basic biology stuff, really, not just chicken. But it's true for all the animals, and you should know this stuff. The enzyme is that folded little protein that's doing a chemical process. Vitamins are helpers or coenzymes. They help the enzyme do its job, and we need them. Why do we need them? This is what's cool about the food chain. So I was looking into the history of vitamins, where they actually came from and why they're in the body, because you have to get them from food. And biological organisms are very, very efficient, and they usually make everything they need. So why do we have vitamins? It has to do with the food chain. It's hypothesized, and it's probably accurate, that long time ago, we're talking over 10 years ago, maybe a billion years ago, long time ago, those organisms, early organisms, were ingesting vitamins, and their bodies and their cells learn how to incorporate them to facilitate a chemical function. Over time, that's just how it's become. So the vitamins become the requirement. You have
Or it could
essential
have been-
vitamins.
It could have been by design.
Well, that's what I say. I have great faith. I'm one of these God people. But I'm also a science person. But I say the authorship and the incredible depth and complexity of the authorship of the function of everything is mind-boggling, but it's elegant and it's beautiful because it all works. It's really
and
fascinating.
If some of these specific vitamins are needed daily and can only be
Gotten from food.
come from food,
Yeah.
and it has to be the right sources and such, so that the body's properly, breaking it down to be what it's
Optimally
supposed to be.
functioning. Yeah.
Yeah, then it would make sense, that it would be by design, because then these creatures, such as us humans, we would then be creating a lot of weak offspring and, passing on very bad genes. It just would like kind of.
Oh yeah, I have a whole bunch of theories on
That can be a big
optimal
topic.
biological function. But yes. Okay. Moving on to vitamins. First vitamin to talk about is vitamin D. Everybody knows, and here's about vitamin D.
Yeah.
What do we know about when you hear vitamin D? What do you think?
I think of the sun.
Oh, okay. I think of cow's milk because of those commercials. That's
Yes.
fortified though. So
That's funny.
yeah, vitamin D is interesting. Vitamin D functions more like a messenger or a hormone, not a coenzyme, but a hormone itself, which is a messenger telling a cell or something, go do this. Like
Yeah,
you got a
so
job.
creating the picture, it's the foreman directing mineral placement in our construction scene.
The mineral called calcium. So vitamin D3 in its usable form is called calocalciferol or 25-hydroxycalocalciferol, big name. Well, let's just call it vitamin D3. It's synthesized in the skin from UVB sunlight. So even chickens get sun exposure. They have sun exposure up around their neck, under here, under their wings. So in the summer, if they're outside, they do get sun exposure through their feathers and they synthesize vitamin D. If you're keeping birds in a house or under a roof all the time and they're not exposed to any sunlight, they're probably going to need supplementation.
And you can see this, animals in general need the sun, but you can see this simply just in your pet cat or your pet dog that's indoors. If the sun is shining through a window, particularly if the window is open or if it's like a single pane glass, or if you have a screen door, the door open and the screen is there in the exterior door and the sun is shining through onto the floor, you'll see your dog or your cat go and lay in that sun because they want to instinctively, take that in.
Now, an easy way to remember the fun name of vitamin D, calcium. So vitamin D3 has to do with calcium. It's a messenger for the transport of calcium. So without D3, you're not going to have appropriate calcium use. So you get weak eggshells, etc. Or in humans, you can get rickets. Speaking of vitamin deficiencies, this is a side note. The recommended daily allowances, or RDA, that you always see written, those are bare minimums stipulated during World War II for soldiers, make sure they didn't get sick on the battlefield or whatever. They didn't want them having vitamin deficiencies. So
we're talking about humans right now.
Human recommended daily allowances are based on the very bare minimum to prevent deficiencies.
Yeah.
Not to convey a health benefit. Okay, so vitamin D again. I'm going to get too in-depth with that. That's, again, you can spend weeks studying that. Vitamin A, cool, retinol, or the bioavailable form retinol. Plant-based precursors, that's what we eat. So vitamin A is important in the chicken for to keep the airways functioning, prevent blindness, again, hatchability of eggs. But what happens with vitamin A? We convert vitamin A when we eat it, like a carrot. It gets converted into its usable form. We can't use vitamin A as it is. It needs to be synthesized into what's called retinol. So we do it inefficiently. Animals, particularly ruminants and even chickens, they do it much more efficiently. So if I have, this is the ratio, 20-1. For a human being, we convert 20 vitamin A's. Let's say 20 vitamin A's are here. We can only convert about 1 out of those 20. whereas a chicken will do 2 to 1. So 2 vitamin A's to 1 retinol. So they have very efficient conversion rates. And I do believe that's stored in that big, giant, delicious egg yolk.
Oh, yeah.
Bioavailable form of vitamin A and some beta carotene because it is still being converted. What were you going to say?
I was going to say that, it's important. Well, were you going to say more about what it does?
Oh, this is really important. It maintains the epithelial integrity. Epithelials are like linings, cells, things that protect you, like your skin is like they're the lining interior of everything. They're protection cells. So they're going to provide integrity to the epithelial lining as well as mucous membranes. So vitamin A is important for the pathways of their air pathways, which I mentioned briefly. It keeps them from becoming keratinized. So yeah, that vitamin A helps production and health of the mucus. Mucus is healthy. I know we think it's disgusting, but it's healthy.
It's very necessary. It also supports vision and immune function. And it can be found in like alfalfa meal, like you said, carrots. But it is important to make sure that if you're formulating your own feed, not to give them an excessive amount because it'll be stored in the liver. But in our construction scene that we're kind of
we have another construction.
A vitamin A is the protective varnish on every surface of the bird. So if you're thinking of like a vehicle in that case.
Epithelial cells. All right, cool. So vitamin A, again, with the animals, like I said before the beginning of this thing, the humans and the animals, like all animals, have very fundamentally similar biologies, fundamentally. And of course, they're vastly different in their nuance and how they work. And this is one of the cool ones, which is the conversion of vitamin into the usable or bioavailable form of vitamins. Humans don't do it as well as animals with these plants. Part of that is because plants are hard to digest for humans. Plants contain things that humans don't like, and humans don't like to eat cellulose, and we don't like lignin, and we don't like these very pulpy, hard to digest things, and we don't like oxalates, which are kind of like anti-nutrients, which bind to the good stuff too. But animals, they have a very, very cool biology and digestive system and symbiotic, what do you call it? Biodome, like their gut microbiome. I said biodome. They have a symbiotic gut microbiome that allows the breakdown of these components that the humans aren't really good at breaking down. Like a beaver, what's he love to eat? Trees all day long. He's eating trees. No, they don't eat trees.
I don't think he's eating it. But it's
well, here's an example. So like termites, right? They swallow the wood. They're not eating the wood. They have bacteria that digest it inside their gut. Breaks it down because it's all lignin. It's very tough and pulpy. Stupid termites.
Why? Oh, we're eating a house?
Yeah. Okay, so we'll move on. These are very, very important compounds in the diet. Like you don't want to be deficient in these. And again, quality food will tell you how much is in that.
We're going through the top 10.
Yes.
That was we just did number 5. Now we're going to number 6.
Vitamin E. Where's vitamin E coming from? Vitamin E is, again, coming from their diet. They're going to be eating things out there in chicken land, maybe from their feed or from scavenging and have vitamin E. Vitamin E is an antioxidant. You guys heard of antioxidants? Everybody's heard about it. It works as an antioxidant in a chicken. What's an oxidant? What's causing oxidative stress? There's a free radical, and I don't want to do too much hard chemistry. Everybody's heard the word electron. We know it's a little doopy thing that goes around the outer shell of an atom. So a free radical has basically like a little hole. It's seeking to attract an electron. Let me pull an electron off of something and stick it in my free radical body. Well, what the antioxidant does is he weaves up to Mr. Free Radical and says, no problem, bro. Here, take an electron. You don't have to damage any of the chicken components. I'm here. So it neutralizes it. And antioxidant, he's stable. He's fine. He can give that electron away. Now remember, these things are really teeny smaller than that.
Yeah,
we're talking atomic scale.
It's an antioxidant in cell membranes. Yeah.
Vitamin E, yes. Vitamin E is an antioxidant in the cell membranes. And the selenium, part of the glutathione peroxidase that repairs oxidative stress. I don't want to get into that too much because it's big words and nobody wants to get bored. But Yes, vitamin E is very important for their health and
Yeah.
repair.
So this would be, in our analogy that we've been kind of slowly forming, the body's rust-proofing system is the vitamin E and selenium.
Oh, that's clever because of oxidation and oxides. Yes, of course, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And then like natural ingredients that would contain these things would be like wheat germs, sunflower, flaxseed, yeast, that sort of thing.
bravo. All right, B complex vitamins, number 7. I'm going to go through these really quick because we're running into, how long have we been doing this jab?
40
minutes, and we haven't flipped.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. B2, B3, and B7. I didn't know what B7 was, but riboflavin and niacin. So B2, riboflavin, energy transfer, and a deficiency would be curly toes, paralysis. And you often see people supplementing B2, I think with chicks, with the brewer's yeast.
Mm-hmm.
So hatching, like we see a lot, you can see problems
You
in
tend to see that
nutrient
with
deficiencies in hatches.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's where, so a little baby organism is very delicate. It needs everything proportional. If there's deficiencies, it's going to be much more pronounced than it would be in an adult organism, because the adult organism is already established, whereas the chick is building itself from scratch. So,
and the parents, the health of the parents obviously affect the genetic makeup and the vitality and strength of the baby.
that too. I'm just strictly speaking of nutrient deficiencies.
Mm-hmm.
They're more pronounced in those chicks because they're developing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you'll see a lot of these things being used with chicks. Like we just mentioned the brewer's yeast. I know that's been mentioned a ton. I've heard that before.
You see that a lot with ducks.
That's correct. Ducks with their B2.
With their wings.
So the B complexes, I'm not going to all of them, but I am going to mention B12 cobalamin. Now, cobalamin, it's called cobalamin because it has a cobalt center, which is structured around. Cobalamin is for the formation of red blood cells, B12. Now, here's the interesting thing about B12 and why B12 is very cool, because it's strictly gotten from dietary, at least for us humans, and for the chickens, not for the ruminants. So B12 is produced by a bacteria. This again goes way back ancient times, and through evolution or whatever, that bacteria has incorporated itself into animals. Cow, for example. Okay, you eat cow meat. Cow meat's got a lot of B12 in it, the usable form of B12. Why come? Because the cow's gut has the bacteria in it. You know, we have these gut microbiomes. Many of those organisms come from the environment, and for the ruminants, like cows and sheepies, right? They get that from the soil. They're eating grass, and they're pulling in these bacteria that then become part of their gut. And they're beneficial. They're symbiotic. They work together. Mm-hmm. Bacteria has a nice warm cow to live in, and cow has a nice bacteria to produce B12. And then we eat cow, and we get cow's B12 because we don't have that bacteria. So you have to be careful with your diet if you're eliminating meat or B12 sources to make sure you do get your B12. It's quite important, and it's important in the chicken for the same reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would be the spark plugs igniting metabolism. That's what the B complex vitamins are doing.
Yes, indeed. They help with well, all the vitamins are very important to facilitate all these chemical reactions and optimal function. If there's deficiencies, like I mentioned earlier with recommended daily allowances, even for chickens, when there's deficiencies, you're going to notice deficiency symptoms. Mm-hmm. Again, like, what was the one I did about protein deficiency? The feather picking? Mm-hmm. That's not a vitamin. But the animals have what's called nutritional wisdom. They know when they're deficient in compounds, even vitamins. They know when they're deficient instinctively, when they're deficient in nutrients and different vitamins. And they go out and they know what to eat. They look for them and they eat them. Chicken is very good at this. The chicken has very good eyesight. It knows what to pick out. I mean, it's not a scientist. It's not sitting there. It's not have this conscious thing. It's just an instinct that these animals have. It's really incredible. that when they're deficient, they go and eat what they need to eat to rectify that deficiency, which is interesting. We go to a doctor. The chicken's its own doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And that's called zoopharmacology, like when an animal's sick. Animal pharmacology. Zoopharmacology is when an animal treats its illness with environmental, whatever, it's food that it's eating. So the animals are very wise. They know their sickness. They know their deficiencies. Our job, like what I was getting with all of this stuff and why these important ingredients, is the animals, and I always mention this, they're no longer eating their wild food. They're no longer ranging like they did ancestrally. So we have to supplement their food. We're giving them really what's an artificial diet because they're not in their natural environment. So you want to make sure the diet you're giving them, especially if you like your chickens, is meeting their needs, meeting their metabolic energy and production needs. All right, moving on. A couple more left. The omega-3 fatty acids. I'm not going to tell you why they're called omega-3s. I mean, I could, but it's complex, and I don't want to get into all that. It has to do with the way they're structured. But these are anti-inflammatory lipids that balance out the omega-6 ratio. Omega-6, again, I'm not going to get into why that's called that. That's a whole another half-hour class. It improves cardiovascular health. I mean, it does in the bird, and it does in us. It reduces inflammation and improves fertility. Where are we getting omega-3s? They're fats. So they're coming from fat sources like flax seeds. There's 3 types of omega-3s, DHA, ALA, and EPA. Decahosenic acid, alpha-linoleic acid, and ecopacenic, I forget. It's a big word. Ecopacenic acid. I can't, half the time I can pronounce it.
It sounds like a difficult word.
Half the time I can't. And EPA is actually derived from marine sources. That's the one that's good for us human in our brain. It's derived from marine sources only. However, it can be synthesized. So some of these omega-3 acids, fatty acids, omega-3 fats, if they're not present, some of them can, of course, be synthesized. But again, there improves cardiovascular health, like I mentioned. And yeah, some of it is stored in eggs. So when you go to the store and you see omega-3 egg, it probably has a little more trace amounts of omega-3s. I wouldn't think it's too significant because if you add a ton of omega-3 to a chicken diet, your eggs smell like fish. They have omega-3 smell to them, and they're not going to be palatable. So I think it's mostly marketing, like most food. Diet and exercise, more important than fads.
But yeah, so the omega-3 fatty acids are like the lubricant in the machinery. So it's making sure everything's moving and flowing smoothly. Yeah. Oh, I mentioned they were anti-inflammatory. So what is inflammatory? What's inflammation? Does anybody know what inflammation is? Do you know what inflammation is? It's a response to... Yeah, but I think you can explain it better.
I wrote it down because I wanted to make it sound half intelligent. Natural response to injury, infection, irritation. It's normal in the short term because we often have irritation. Something happens, you get a scratch, what happens? It gets red, it gets sometimes risen, it gets warm. So these are all healing.
It's a reaction.
It's a reaction
to something.
And it's normal to have inflammation occasionally, not constantly, like stress. It's normal to have stressors intermittently, not to have stress chronically. Why is this? Oh yeah, by the way, stress leads to inflammation, cellular inflammation. So what's happening with inflammation? Why is this bad? It's damaging over the long term. It's damaging to us. And we humans, especially in the United States, they don't realize this, but most people live with chronic inflammation. They don't know because it's their baseline. Because unlike the chicken who are eating well and sleeping well, the human is eating bad food, inflammatory compounds, high omega-6s, like disproportionate omega-6.
A lot of food products have ingredients in them that,
humans shouldn't eat.
Poorly, badly to.
They're not. I look at everything as bioevolutionary and coevolutionary. So if it's not ancestrally co-evolved with a human, it probably shouldn't be in there. And that's always the case. So the diet that we eat, it's causing chronic inflammation. So inflammation is damaging. It starts causing cell damage. And can have it leads to systemic issues. It can cause a suppressed immune system, etc. The same for the chicken. Like I mentioned at the beginning, a lot of these things are fundamentally shared by animal and man. So inflammation, bad if chronic.
Mm-hmm.
Normal if intermittent. Same with stress. Stress is fine if it's intermittent. In fact, it's quite healthy, but you don't want to have it all the time. Otherwise, you start smoking, you don't sleep, everything starts cascading downhill.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Aaron said something. Love the science information. He goes, oh, thanks, Aaron, if you're still there. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
The science is cool, and I like to do this because maybe it inspires a family or mom or dad to start talking to the kid a little more in depth about the creatures and get the child or the children involved, to be like, oh yeah, I want to start learning about that. Like I took my kids out when they were little. Aaron said he's still here. So when my kids were little, I never forced them to do anything. I just said, I'm following the natural pathway of your curiosity, and I'll just help guide you. I'm not going to force you to do anything you don't want to do, because I know humans, kids, are particularly inquisitive, and they want to understand function. So I would take them out all the time and say, well, look at what you want to look at, ask me questions, and then we'll figure it out. And, out in nature, I'm a nature guy. I walk around barefoot. I'm out in the woods. There's always a question to be asked after you answer one. So that's why I like teaching this stuff, because maybe it plants a seed to be like, oh, is that true about protein? Does it really fold up into a structure that's really complex? Yes, it is. Cell does it very efficiently. All right.
So
couple
number
more
9.
things.
Yeah.
Sodium chloride. That's table salt. When we say salt, we don't eat sodium. We eat sodium chloride. If we ate sodium, we would croak. So if we ate chloride, we would croak. It's amazing. Chemistry is so cool.
Yeah.
Deadly when they're separate, and absolutely necessary when they're together. So sodium chloride maintains the osmotic balance and nerve conduction. Osmotic balance, osmosis, transfer of fluid in that cell. It keeps the cell from shriveling up or getting too big and fat. And nerve conduction. So our nerves, ever see The Matrix? What's so dumb? They use.
I like it.
So
You
dumb.
just don't like the one component in the dopamine thing.
So the people were supposed to be electricity. Well, kind of, sort of. Like all of these impulses
He's
that are
talking about
muscle.
the people being the growing people that they're using as a source of
energy.
power. Yeah.
But kind of true, because you do have electrical impulse throughout your whole body, telling your brain, telling muscles go do this. Like, which we don't.
He gets upset because it would be very inefficient because of the human body's needing so much to be maintained.
Oh yeah, the Matrix.
The Matrix.
Why I didn't like The Matrix is because the whole movie was predicated on using humans as an energy source, where you would be putting in about 1,000 times more energy
to sustain them.
Yeah, to get one unit of energy out of the human requires 1,000 units of energy put into the human. It made no sense. I was like, I'll just pretend.
So the salt.
Moving on.
No, wait, hold on. So the salt, the sodium and chloride, that's the electrical wiring fluid for every signal in the body. That's what that's like.
Yeah, they're ions, little things go, little electrical impulses. They communicate. Again, insanely complex, very beautifully well structured. And last but not least,
number 10.
Number 10, probiotics and microbiota. Please.
Oh, no, go ahead. I'm liking this. We're going back and forth.
So a lot of this stuff we've already done a lot of videos on. Probiotics are beneficial bacteria that live in our gut. Bacteria and other compounds, flora, fauna, funguses. Well, funguses, yeah. Well, we have funguses can't live in there, but they're bacteria and flora. They live in our gut, and their metabolic byproducts are quite beneficial for us.
So they produce B vitamins and suppress pathogens. They improve the immune system and the overall health of the bird, so they can much better withstand pathogen loads, high pathogen loads, parasitic, loads, sicknesses and such. These really good beneficial bacteria give them a really good boost. Yeah.
Yeah. What is it? 10% of land weight is microbiome. Or is it more than that? It's a huge amount of them. Anyway, so again, where did the vitamins come from? If we go way back in history, it was little bacteria in the environment producing them as waste products or byproducts of their own metabolism, of their own food and energy production. Animals were eating them. They ingested them. Now, over time, we need vitamins because we got used to ingesting this byproduct. We decided to use it. And now we ingest bacteria to get into our system. Cows, humans, all the creatures, they have this gut microbiome going all the way up and down in your mouth. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. You have, all over you, on your skin.
You're covered. You're proliferated with little microorganisms.
Yeah, they're doing a job. They're all doing very important jobs.
So the microbiota in the chicken's gut and in the human gut, when you feed them, they produce their waste. Isn't waste? It's these metabolic byproducts, vitamins and other compounds. So what do we feed them? Indigestibles like the fibers, lignans, celluloses in the chicken. They're going to eat them up. In us humans, the fibers, they eat them up, as well as
the bacteria you're talking about.
Yeah, they also eat, what do you call them? The flavonoids, like turmeric, those deep colored things, and spices, we eat them. And they all produce different metabolic byproducts. And they're quite happy when they eat them.
Mm-hmm. So
we have
the
a happy
food
gut.
For the food for the microbiome would be called prebiotic.
People call them prebiotic.
Anyway.
I'm not really into, so I know the gut microbiome, I guess it's still in vogue, is that the right word? As this magical cure-all. So every once in a while, there's a popularized nutrition or health fad, goji berries, remember them?
Mm.
Okay, the gut microbiome.
As a single thing.
So the gut microbiome became popularized as this magical thing, which it is.
Mm-hmm. It's very important.
But it's a component of an overall system. Okay, it's not the cure-all, it's a component to the cure-all, which is optimal well-being in you or in your animal. So
but just like you said with the elephant, one bite at a time. So as you're learning, learning about your gut microbiome and then making adjustments and then learning about other parts of your body, because your body is a whole thing. But the analogy for the probiotics and microbiota, how do you say that?
Microbiota?
Biota support. That would be the gardeners maintaining the digestive ecosystem. That's what that's like.
Oh, and the other thing they do is they're beneficial. They're good guy bacteria. Mm-hmm. So they're starting to, I mentioned this in the last video, they're populating your gut. The good guys are hanging out. They're taking up real estate. Mm-hmm. Bad guys come. Sick guys, the bad ones come in. I want to go over there. Well, they can't. It's been taken up by good guys. So they're competing for resources. So the good beneficial bacteria outcompete for resources. And that is one way that it protects us from infection and other issues when we get bad guys coming in.
Mm-hmm. And like I mentioned with like parasites or like coccidia.
This is true for chickens. Like this thing is very similar.
Right. What I'm talking about is with the chickens, they're pecking the ground all the time, and if they're
and quail
and the animals, if you want to just like blow it all up, but chickens. I'm talking about chickens here. They're pecking the ground and they're exposed to these different organisms, and when they have a healthy gut microbiome, then like Christopher just said, those good guys, those good bacteria that are, the gardeners inside the gut, they're filling up more space and they're just making everything run more smoothly. And then when these bad guys come in, these parasites and such, they're not able to overrun the bird system. Yeah. They keep them in check. Indeed, and then they're, they can be a more hardier bird as well.
Yeah. Now, in conclusion, I don't want to give the impression that these top 10 or any top 10 anything for health and nutrition is really like the key. I wanted to present this because, there are compounds that are very important in a diet. And I think, like I said towards the beginning of this video, everybody knows their chicken or they know their dog or they know their animal, but they may not really understand how it functions. And to begin to understand a deeper way of how these critters function, puts you more in control and makes the animal's life better because you'll be more in tune and have more intuition about what's going on. And you won't be so, like, I don't know what to say, like your opinion is not going to be that big a deal to you anymore. Like, I think this, I think that. It's like, no, I don't think that. I now have an objective understanding, and I don't have an emotion involved because I'm looking at this objectively.
Yeah, and then as you continue to learn and broaden, your understanding, you realize there's so much more to learn, and you become more open-minded, which is important to make changes and grow. So
yeah, so I hope this information was useful. Is there anything I want to close with? I guess I'll go back to my closing of total whole system well-being for your chicken. Chickens, here's the things that chickens and humans need, both of us, to remain healthy. I can't remember all off the top of my head. I'll try to. Proper nutrition, exercise, movement, proper sleep. Chickens need to sleep properly. They can't be up all night. Make sure you're using the right lights. Make sure they don't have light on all night. Circadian rhythm gets screwed up.
Yeah.
Management of stress management. Socialization, very important for humans' health, for your physical health and your mental health.
Yes.
Socialization, and also very important for the chicken. Okay, one chicken, they're depressed. They start smoking. Bach.
They're not a predator type animal. Predators tend to be, solitary, but the chickens are flock, birds. They like their buddies.
Yeah, what did I do? Oh, environment,
animal.
like their environment. Exposure to the environment, daylight, sunlight, and a couple others. I think with a human, we have a spiritual sense of self or a core philosophy understanding, and then something else, I forget. I need Christopher to come manage my life and nutrition.
But that's good that you're thinking like that, though, because I was just telling Christopher this yesterday, maybe, that us people, we have animals that we care for, that we care about. We have pets, we have dogs, we have animals that we care deeply about, and we'll do lots of research and we'll learn about what they need, what their bodies need, what's good for them, what makes them healthy. We'll get, food that we know will make them feel good, and we'll take all these extra steps. We'll, take them for walks for like dogs and such. But then when it comes to us, we're not always so aware or motivated or just aware that our body is also very important, and we need to understand our own body and what the body needs, the foods, like Christopher, all the things that he just listed, the community, like all the needs of us, because we have to take care of our body. Nobody's gonna force feed you unless you're an infant. So we have to take initiative to eat things, to learn, step by step, learn about ingredients, learn about foods, learn about what our body needs. And then also with the being in the sun, the community, the exercise,
these are all
what are
contributing.
toxins? Yeah. And then we talked earlier about inflammatory.
Aaron, I'm going to tell you this. The key to health is free. Like, I've noticed online, like there's, I got a class, I got a pill, I got a supplement, I got this, no. To understand the well-being and health of a human is for free. It's free. It's just a little bit of knowledge. The problem with the human is an emotional, psychological creature. So I think that's the biggest obstacle. You can condition an animal. They're very easy to condition. It's like stick or carrot. The human, they interpret the stick and carrot completely differently. So it's very, very hard to, you can't really condition human like you do a creature. Parents try to do this with kids sometimes, like, they'll scream.
Yeah.
Like, that's not how that actually works.
But that's coming out of frustration. Yeah. That's
so like,
good.
yeah, to get to like health, it's best to do it when you're young. So I always stress, like, parents, teach your kids this stuff when they're little, so when they're adults, they take substance. But you can always improve health. The problem, like, I really think is not how do you do it, it's how do I defeat the obstacles that I have to get started doing that thing. It's a behavioral change. It's like any behavioral change, that's all. Like, there's the old saying, like, how do you lose weight? Go diet. Well, yeah, but what? It's really that simple. Like, the answer is that simple. However, executing it is quite difficult because we're human. I think I heard you guys say in the beginning about shipping in the spring. Are you guys going to start shipping eggs? No, not quail eggs. Not.
It's possible.
Talking about your silky eggs.
I was talking about my silky chickens, silky pullets, shipping live birds, silkies particularly. But I do have that in mind.
Can I tell them the funny thing about this?
The quail eggs, hatching eggs. It is an objective that I want to do. And I have been actively increasing our breeder numbers so that would be, an easy thing to do.
I was going to tell him about MPIP. So with MPIP, National Poultry Improvement Plan, you need to be MPIP certified to ship eggs, but not living creatures, right?
Yeah, I mean.
Kind of weird.
Yeah, it's.
Even better, we have enough quail around here. Yeah, we got like 50,000 of them.
Yes.
Well, I think this was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and our screen stayed correct because with the StreamYard, we're using StreamYard today.
We were using StreamYard, which is that little duck. Maybe you're seeing it on this side as it's being broadcast. So we're using StreamYard, and every 35 minutes into a program, it would flip from horizontal to vertical, and I'd be like, "Oh man!" So I abandoned it for like a month or two, maybe 3.
Yeah,
and now we're using it again. Seems to be working. But yeah, this was really good information. I really I like learning. Like I'm always teaching myself stuff. Not a flex, not a brag. It's just.
But yeah, we encourage
my thing I like to do, and then I like to share the information.
I just heard a study about creativity, and they were following a large group of kids, and they were testing like young kids with creativity. They tested like way off the charts, and I'm not being specific here, but because that's not really the point. But then as the kids started to grow, they tested them again with the same type of test. It was a thorough test. It was like a military type test. Once the kids kept growing at different stages of their life into adulthood, their level of creativity just like went down. So yeah. So my point in saying this is ask questions and keep curious mind, but don't just ask or think a question, or curiosity about something. Like pursue the answer, because then you're going to be growing, and that just enhances your life. Like he is constantly asking questions. He's always talking to ChatGPT constantly. Before chat, it was Googling. Like he's constantly Googling because he's just constantly thinking, asking questions like, why is this? Why does that work like that? And it's just really good. It's good for you and you as a person, because we are meant to be creative.
Aw, Aaron said something very nice. I usually get bored on some of this information because I've heard it so many times, but you guys are engaging and exciting to watch and listen to.
Oh, thank you.
I hope some of this was new. Oh, but Aaron, if you're serious, you're welcome to give me a call. I'd be happy to tell you any knowledge I've gained. I've been studying, nutrition, chemistry, food for decades.
Yeah.
Not intensely at a university level every day for decades, but intermittently over a long, long period of time. Mm-hmm. And really, basically, like I said, with all animals, creatures, that's why chicken, you got to look at it as a system, just like a human. You look at it as a system. What does it fundamentally need for optimal function? Put those inputs into the system and observe. Mm-hmm. Chicken gets good food, good house, got chicken friends, gets time outside, gets all these good things. They're always healthy. We never have a problem with them. Yeah. Occasionally, a raccoon wants to eat them. I got to get you guys on one of my live streams. Oh, that would be delightful.
Yeah, that'd be
sure, Aaron. Yeah, if you want to do that too, you give me a call or send me a message and figure out if you want to do a subject or a topic or something. Mm-hmm. Something that gets you. I know you're very intense with your quail. See, we talk about chickens because we want to do a more broader, I guess.
Like the audience?
Like a broader audience, although all of the stuff we discuss pretty much is analogous to the treatment of the quail. The quail just have higher metabolism, a little smaller. There's a couple things that are different, but they're very, very similar physiologically. Mm-hmm.
Although we're very big fans of the quail.
Oh, I love the quail.
All the benefits of
First thing I do when I wake up is talk about quail.
You're the quail person on the card.
Every time, yeah, I do like the quail.
In most cases, what does it say?
Chicken and quail are similar.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot of yapping. That was a good one. Oh, don't forget, set your clock back an hour on Sunday.
Oh no.
Yeah,
No.
it's gonna be dark at 1:30 or
No,
something.
I hate the reduced time in the evening. Ugh. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. We hope that was interesting and helpful.
If it was, do us a solid and share it out there in internet land. Tell everybody there's an abundance of free information from a guy in a hat and a nice lady.
Yes.
I actually, I'm not, some of these people are wacky with I want to be internet famous. I would like people to develop independent thought and, pursue things they enjoy. We're getting into this horrible age in the future where everything's on the computer and like people are getting more and more addicted to their phones. So it's quite critical that we encourage all these young people to get off of their phone or at least, start doing and learning and sharing knowledge.
Right.
Stuff.
Right.
Okie doke.
For sure.
Aaron, thanks a million for stopping in. Kelly, if you're here or not, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Tommy, everybody else, people who are watching, we sure do love talking to you, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.